Thank you very much for having me here. This research is actually entitled We the People versus Them, a political strategy of differentiation. I would like to examine the ordering within a political party with an Islamic reference, the Party for Justice and Development in Morocco, حزب العدالة والتنمية. Okay, so within the context of the anti-government protests that swept across the Middle East and North Africa back in 2010 and 2011, the Justice and Development Party, a political party with an Islamic reference, rose to power and secured two successive electoral victories, the first one in 2011 and the second one in 2016. So the question that I would like to ask is, how did the PJD evolve once in power and within a system in Morocco where political parties have learned that their power and survival is a question of proximity with the palace? Over time, parties have learned that they needed to marginalize their ideologies and political programs. It has become very difficult in Morocco to distinguish between what we call loyalist parties and what we call opposition parties. For political parties, this is a strategy of survival. I would like to argue that adopting populism, which is a teen-centered ideology that considers society to be ultimately separated into two homogeneous and antagonistic groups, the pure people versus the corrupt elite, and which argues that politics should be an expression of the general will of the people, allows the PJD, حزب العدالة والتنمية, to pursue a strategy of differentiation and to stand out from other political parties in a constraining political system that has been known to co-opt and fragment strong parties. So what is populism? Populism actually claims to represent a marginalized majority who have been shut out of power by corrupt politicians and an unrepresentative elite. This marginalized majority is the common people, the virtuous, or the noble man. The populist discourse is very dichotomous, as it perceives society in terms of polarized concept. We, the common pure people, against the corrupt elite. And this populism describes politics as an inherent moral struggle between the good, represented by the will of the people, and the evil, represented by a conspiring elite that has subverted the will of the people. It is a political approach of us versus them, of dividing society between the majority versus the elite. The majority is good, the elite is corrupt. Populism seeks to mobilize the ordinary man, the virtuous man, the pious man, the religious man, against the elite that is corrupting the purity of the people. In fact, populism glorifies the people, it worships the people, and it places the people at the center of its discourse. In the populist imagination, the people are virtuous. They are virtuous and unified population. The people are imaginary. They are neither real nor inclusive, but represent a mythical subset of the population. The concept of the people reflects a kind of idealization of the community. The glorification of the people and the criticism of the established elite does not mean a rejection of the political game. Populism seeks to seize power in these institutions as it claims to represent the people better than any other institution, better than anybody else. It also claims it will work to implement policies that respect the wishes of the people, their identities, and their values. Populism is conceived as the revolution of the silent majority that rejects the political class. It positions itself as the oppressed. We are the oppressed, who present an alternative to the same system, as the one who seeks to promote popular sovereignty because it values the people. Populism, in brief, populism seeks to make the voice of the people heard in order to make the world a better place. So the established elite is something that is referred to as the other, and the other includes also the ruling political parties, which in turn are criticized for only serving their own interest, for dividing the homogeneous people and corrupting the relations between the leaders and the people. Populism claims to form a different political party that would emancipate the people by first making them aware of their oppression and then by giving them a new status within the political system. Populism does not claim to want to change the people and their values, because for the populism, conscience is the basis of any good policy. The identities, the values of the people, which are homogeneous, are constructed in opposition to the other, the threatening, heterogeneous exterior. This involves a kind of binary division of society into antagonistic social and political groups, pushed further and further apart, a process whereby the normal multiplicity of differences in a society increasingly align along a single dimension. Cross-cutting differences become instead reinforcing, and people increasingly perceive and describe politics and society in terms of us versus them. Now let's go back to the origin of the Party of Justice and Development in Morocco, حزب العدالة والتنمية, le Parti de la Justice et du Développement. The creation of the party dates back to the Islamic Youth Movement, a radical organization that defended the use of violence to fight against the regime deemed illegitimate and to establish an Islamic state. When the movement was banned, dissidents formed a new organization called the Unity and Reform Movement. It recognized the legitimacy of the regime, the monarchy, and expressed intention to participate in formal politics. Leaders were then encouraged to join an existing political party, which is the Popular Constitutional and Democratic Movement in 1996. And in 1998, the party was renamed the Justice and Development Party. In Morocco, the party defined itself as a party with an Islamic reference that promises to revive and renew the political system in line with authentic Moroccan values. The PJD announced it aims to coordinate media, cultural, education, social, and religious government sector to spread and strengthen essential moral values in Morocco. So how does the party represent the people? How does the party perceive the people? Moroccans are presented as pure, honest. We are the most intelligent people. The people are glorified, and I am here quoting the leader of the party and former head of the government, Abdullah bin Kiran. Moroccans are the most intelligent people in the world. If they don't always realize what's going on, they recognize the right people or the wrong people at the first glance. The party builds the concept of the nation around the values of the Sunni Islam. What unifies Moroccans are Sunni Islamic values. The PJD mentions Islam as a reference identity and also a sociocultural one. Islam is what unifies people. Again, I'm quoting Abdullah bin Kiran. Moroccans are not afraid of us. He's speaking of the party. Moroccans, when they see us, meaning the party, they see their faces in the mirror. We are like Moroccans, all Moroccans, most Moroccans, the majority of Moroccans, because our state, in its constitution, the Kingdom of Morocco, is an Islamic state. Our history is built on the fact that our state is an Islamic state. Today, that there is a segment of society which has another logic, another thought, it is acceptable, of course, but it should not impose itself on the Moroccan people at the expense of what they want. The PJD is modest. It does not speak about religion. It speaks about the Islamic reference. You believe that just by removing religion from its official status, you believe that religion will go away? Religion is rooted in the minds of Moroccans, in the brains of Moroccans. The latter remain attached to their religion and are not ready, whatever the circumstances, to drop it. The people are described as pious, virtuous. While the elite has abandoned its Moroccan values, the elite is evil and risks corrupting the purity of the people. Society is perceived as kind of a battlefield that opposes the people, homogeneous in their religious values, to the immoral, secular elite, trying to apply a Western liberal model that does not conform to what is specific to Morocco. While the elite is being called as the mafia, the party warns the Moroccans against voting for the secular, because secular means unethical politicians. The Moroccan people are presented as the victim of the political elite that exploited Morocco's wealth and prevented its development. The previous governments are criticized for being incompetent and for failing to place the Moroccan citizen at the heart of their policies. They are the ones to blame for the erosion of positive values. Quoting bin Kiran, I think the PGD mobilized a lot of people because many Moroccans had to boycott these elections since the expectations are too great and the frustrations too. The participation of our party was therefore an added value for this election, especially since the other parties did not mobilize many people by simply going out at night to distribute money. Even party leaders have unfortunately succumbed to this political corruption. If the administration abstained this year from any intervention, there was still a laissez-faire in terms of corruption. While criticizing the elite, the party positioned itself as the only party in line with Moroccan values and respectful towards Moroccan Islamic identity. Moroccans look at whether there is seriousness or not. Moroccans know when there is seriousness. They want a state that works for the citizens and not the citizens for the state. Vote for men, vote for the serious, vote for the people who love their country. They are known. I don't need to tell you who these people are. We are a political party. We are attached to our Islamic identity. We are proud of it. We thank God for having inspired us, and our reference is the Islamic reference. The PGD saw itself as representing a majority of Moroccans and by consequence Morocco, and assumed that a simple vision that pious people were enough to resolve the country's problem. Party leaders have sought to emphasize how little their new positions have influenced them and how they continue to serve people rather than being the new elite. They prefer to reside in their old houses rather than official luxurious residences. They pray with their neighbors. They buy the clothes from open air markets. And this was very important for them to position themselves in opposition to the elite, to the ruling elite. Now, when they rose to power in 2011, they became exposed to the reality of the political game. They have been confronted to the rules of the political game. In Morocco, it's a very constrained political system, and it's a bit difficult sometimes for outsiders to understand the political system in Morocco and how it functions. The Constitution of 2011, which was soon after the revolution, the Arab uprising, it was drafted under the pressure from the street. It maintained the king's executive powers of strategic issues and preserved his religious and political prerogatives. He is the commander of the faithful, Amir al-Mu'minin, and the head of the ministerial council, and has the right to dissolve the parliament. These are the powers of the king. He can exercise by dahir, that are considered sacred texts and are above the political system. He has the last word when it comes to political and religious matters. He controls what we call the ministries of sovereignties, which are the ministries of foreign affairs, the ministries of education, and the interior ministry. The ministers are appointed by the palace, and they are known for being close allies of the king. In short, Morocco is often referred to as what we call an executive monarchy, where the king has the last word in politics. Now, when it comes to the religious prerogatives of the king, Morocco is what we call, in Morocco, the constitution defines the country as a Muslim state, and the king is not only the head of state, but he's also Amir al-Mu'minin, who ensures respect for Islam and the religious compliance of laws. The king chairs the council of the ulama, the only body empowered to issue fatwas, and thus monitors the conformity of laws and acts to the Islamic identity of the state. These are some of his, he also resides under the Ministry of Habus that ensures the protection of what is considered ideologically safe by the monarchy and makes it impossible for unofficial religious movements or associations to find a mosque where they can express their opinions. These are some of the political and religious prerogatives of the king. Another characteristic of the political system in Morocco is what we commonly refer to as al-makhzan, or the deep state. The term originally meant the storehouse. It now designates the palace and its network, who together influence on decision making and dictate the main line of policy. The makhzan is the place where power is concentrated. It's the ruling elite that has created a powerful system of social relations. We're talking about economic elite, political elite, the military elite. They share economic, political interest and thrive on a culture of obedience. Morocco is also characterized by a highly fragmented multi-party system. There are more than 32 political parties in Morocco. Some of these parties were created by figures close to the palace. For example, the authenticity and modernity power was rapidly established to curb the rising popularity of the justice and development parties. Elections are used as a long-term strategy of segmentary politics to prevent the emergence of a strong party by creating a balance among political parties and consequently ensure the hegemony of the monarchy. Compounding the issues, elections have long been characterized by low voter turnout, reflecting Moroccans' political disinterest and mistrust of politicians. In this highly restrictive context, it was particularly difficult for the Party of Justice and Development to initiate promised reforms. The party learned to become pragmatic. And to survive, it prioritized improving relations with the monarchy and endorsed every move and decision made by the king. The party once called for a democratic struggle, and now it's calling for what the party calls an effective partnership with the monarchy to build a democracy. Former party leader Ben Kiran often positioned himself as the servant of the king and showed clear support for the monarchy's political and religious roles. The PJD also employed a pragmatic approach that combined neoliberal economic policies and realistic foreign policy. In foreign policy, the PJD sought to improve relations with the European Union and the USA. The party has also signed normalizing relations with Israel back in December 2020. So the question to be asked now is what makes the PJD an Islamic political party? What makes the PJD that has initiated neoliberal reforms, that has signed normalizing relations with Israel? How does the party claim to be a political party with Islamic reference? Polarization. I would like to argue that the PJD adopted a populist, polarizing rhetoric as a political strategy to stand out from other political parties and to become widely appealing among diverse constituents. In this sense, the religious is used to differentiate the party from other political parties and to convey the message of a pure party within a corrupt political system. Religious references and symbols are used to promote a sense of ethics unique to its leaders. The aim is to position itself as a pure party defending the Moroccan population against the others, the immoral secular politicians. Quoting Ben Kiran, I have been preserving for 40 years. I love this country. I love its citizens. I lived with them. I defended their religion. I gave lessons in mosque. I gave Friday sermons. I talked about politics. I faced those who wanted to destroy the Moroccan family. By claiming their Islam, party members wanted to express their seriousness, their moral responsibility, and how their Islamic values add value to public action. Because they are pious, then they are more credible than any other political party and than any other politicians. Probity then become a political argument, which serves to distinguish itself, to distinguish the party from any other political actor. By referring to religion, the PJD seeks to legitimize a moral and an ethical discourse that would guide its political action of good. By Islamic reference, the party understands that if you come to practice political activity, you do not forget that you are Muslim, that your religion has warned about a certain number of things. Islam does become important for a politician to be serious. Islam is what guarantees the honesty of party members and the fact that they will not fail in their duty. What we have brought from our religious ideology, it is above all the good values, I'm quoting the party, which will help us to propose serious things, serious men. Islam remains the reference. The strength of faith is important. In politics, this is where you must need faith and religion. How religion helps a politician to be serious. Remember that we are Morocco. In Morocco, values are linked to a central core, which is how you are towards God and towards society. And that until proven otherwise, there is nothing better than religion to guarantee it. PJD officials are presented as the good Muslims who are inspired by Islam and its moral capital and values. The emphasis is made on moral values and transparency, lack of corruption, and commitment to high moral, ethical standing. Muslimhood is used to link the PJD to a religious Moroccan identity. Thus, the PJD claims to bring together all social groups first because Islam is the state religion and then because Moroccans are Muslim. Through this legitimation strategy, the party claims to represent and protect both the identity and the Muslim religion. As Ben Kiran explains, there are things that we read every day which bring together hundreds of thousands of people in prayers and these words, the Quran, to ensure that a religion remains in society, that it can play its role. Okay, I have 15 seconds. And so using populism, this dichotomy of representing society into two antagonistic groups, the pure people, the religious people, the Muslim Moroccans versus the elite, the secular elite, the corrupt elite, has been used by the party to stand out in politics because the political system is very constraining and has been very difficult to distinguish about what makes an opposition party and to distinguish what makes a loyalist party. And polarization was simply as a strategy of differentiation for the party. Thank you very much. Okay, good. Thank you.